Good morning, everybody. It's the Dog H. Weber with another edition of Weber on Sports here on FingerLakes1.com, based out of Seneca Falls, New York. Today we have a special show. Joining me in a couple of seconds will be Mr. Ryan Cannon, the director of the 95th PGA Championship, to be held at the famed Oak Hill Country Club in Pittsford, New York. Good morning, Ryan. Welcome to Weber on Sports. Thanks for carving out 20 or 30 minutes with us.
No problem, Aaron. I appreciate you having me.
Well, Ryan, let's get right to it. Less than 3 months to go. The first tee shot will be hit on August the 8th. The excitement level has got to be at an all-time high as you and your team get ready to host the 95th PGA Championship.
Absolutely. You know, the planning for a PGA Championship really starts once the last one ends. And for this community, you go back to, in fact, almost 10 years now, back to 2003 when Sean McKeel won here at Oak Hill in incredible fashion on the 72nd hole. But literally the day after that event ended, believe it or not, the planning for this year's PGA Championship, which is returning to Oak Hill Country Club for a third time, that's when it began. So the culmination of a decade of work by hundreds, if not thousands of people is now within sight. And we could not be more excited about it. It's a major championship at Oak Hill. That's a special thing, and we cannot wait for August to get here.
And by the way, I should point out you are obviously a man that thinks about history, and if you obviously know the next question, historically, Pittsford, New York, Rochester, New York, has the dubious distinction in 2013 to be the only city to hold not one major championship, but two, as the Wegmans LPGA tees off June 3rd at famed Locust Hill. So that's got to be pretty impressive as well for golf fans in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's very cool. If you are a fan of the game and you live anywhere near Rochester, New York, or the Finger Lakes region, this is a good year for you. So to have the LPGA Championship at Locust Hill, of course they have it there every year. It's a wonderful event, and then to have the PGA Championship shortly thereafter, it is a good year for golf for not only Rochester and the Finger Lakes region, but really the entire state of New York. In fact, New York has actually hosted our championship, the PGA Championship. After this year, they will have hosted it more times than any other state in the country. And of course, this will be our 95th PGA Championship. The very first one was held in 1916, actually in New York State, but then it has traveled all over the country since then. But in fact, after this year, New York will have hosted it more than anybody else. So we're thrilled to be back. Oak Hill and the East Course is one of the most historic major championship venues, not only in the United States, but in the world. And to have the best players in the world competing at this venue in August is going to be a very, very special occasion.
My special guest this morning is Ryan Cannon, the director of the 95th PGA Championship, to be held August the 8th through the 11th. Of course, that starts a few days earlier, obviously, with practice rounds, etc. Okay, Ryan, the number one question, of course, there's many questions I have to ask you this morning, but let's update our viewers. Any tickets left?
The ticket sales, when a major championship comes to Oak Hill, again, a major championship anywhere is a special thing, but when it comes to a venue like Oak Hill and in a community like Rochester and the Finger Lakes region, that's an activity that people don't want to miss.
That's right.
You don't, when this thing is over, you do not want to spend the next 10, 20 years listening to everybody else talk about how great a time they had.
That's right.
At the PGA Championship at Oak Hill. So we launched ticket sales in August of last year. The response has been tremendous from not only this community, but from literally, we have folks that have purchased tickets from all parts of the globe. And at this point in time, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday grounds tickets are sold out. We do still have Thursday grounds tickets available and practice round tickets available. But then there is an option called a season grounds ticket, which is basically a ticket for all 7 days of the championship. Those are still available, but I think that they're getting very close to being sold out as well. So I think the overwhelming message for the community is that if you want to participate in this, that now is the time. You have to buy your tickets now because our quantities are limited. It's going to be an incredible week for golf. It's going to be an incredible week just as an event, let alone if you're a golf fan or not. And you've got to get involved right now. It's very easy to do so. You just go online to PGAchampionship.com. You click on tickets, and you'll see what is available. All the price points are very, very reasonable. And, in fact, one of the best things that's actually new we started doing this with the PGA Championship in 2008, but it's something that this community may not be familiar with, and that is the fact that juniors who are 17 years of age and younger actually have complimentary access to the PGA Championship all 7 days.
Very nice.
All we ask is that they're accompanied by a ticketed adult. So that's a huge opportunity for mom and dad to bring their sons and daughters out and experience, again, not just a major championship, but really one of the largest traveling sporting events in the world. It's a huge event. It's something. Oak Hill's a beautiful piece of property on just a regular day, let alone when you have the best players in the world and thousands of other people. From an event standpoint, it's something to see. So folks have got to get involved now if they want to be here in August.
Well, before I came on the air this morning to interview you, I did a little research. Obviously, I want to check you out a little bit. I noticed that you graduated from East Tennessee State University. You got your MBA at Spartanland, Michigan State University. Where were you born, Ryan? Give us a little background on yourself. Where are you from? Your family? You got a family? Give us a little personal information.
Yeah, sure. Originally, I grew up in East Tennessee, in Knoxville, and basically was there from the time I was 6 months old until the time I got out of school, and was fortunate enough to get started almost right out of college with the PGA of America when the 2001 PGA Championship was being contested at the Atlanta Athletic Club. Folks may recall that's David Toms edged out Phil Mickelson by one shot there in an unbelievable dramatic fashion. In fact, that's been talked about for years, how David Toms ended up laying up on the 18th hole, but went on to make par and edge Phil out by one shot. But that was my first event working for the PGA of America, and since then I have been able to move on. I spent time at the 2002 PGA Championship in Minneapolis, then on to Oakland Hills Country Club in Detroit, Michigan. Was there for the 2004 Ryder Cup. Stayed there through the 2008 PGA Championship. That was also at Oakland Hills. Then went on back to Atlanta for the 2011 PGA Championship, and then moved up here. Along the way, I had unbelievable experiences at every community we've been at, but got married and got my MBA from Michigan State while I was there, and we've got two little ones, and
that's great.
Are looking forward to August. So fortunate to have an opportunity to work in the golf business in this capacity. It's something that I do feel very fortunate and am humbled by that because I've been a golfer my whole life. My dad was a huge golfer, got me started when I was very, very young, and never really dreamed that I'd be working in the golf business
That's
in this
great.
capacity, but here we are, and it's great. I love every minute of it. It is all consuming. It does
I bet
take
it is.
over my life.
I was going to say
from time to time. But that's all right. It's all worth it when the championship's actually happening.
Correct me if I'm wrong on that David Toms story. I recall, was that not the tournament that he had the hole-in-one with the 5-wood?
That's right. On Saturday.
Right.
In fact, that hole, the 15th hole, the par 3,
right,
has since then that was the hole that in the 2011 PGA Championship. That's where Jason Duffner stood on that tee box with, I believe, was a 3 or maybe even a 4-shot lead, with only 4 holes to play and proceeded to hit it in the water. And
Yep.
Keegan Bradley
Right.
and Jason ended up in a playoff. So, yeah, you're exactly right there. That is the hole that David Toms,
Yep.
back in '01, knocked it in the hole on Saturday. So a lot of history, and certainly a pivot. That hole's played a pivotal role in the last 2 PGA Championships that have been contested there.
Ryan Cannon is my special guest this morning, the director of the 95th PGA Championship to be held in Pittsford, New York, obviously Oak Hill Country Club. Of course, I need to ask you a question also. As you lead up with your team to run this operation and make sure it goes off without any hitches, are you involved in other PGA sanctioned events as well, Ryan, or is this the Mecca that you involved in?
Well, the PGA of America is actually a separate. We are a separate organization from the PGA Tour.
Okay.
The PGA Tour they essentially sanction your weekend, week
Gotcha.
out
Okay.
tour events that you see on television.
Right.
And but they are a completely separate organization.
Okay.
We are also a separate organization to the LPGA, which the LPGA essentially has sanctioned the event at Locust Hill. We're separate again from the USGA, who organizes the U.S. Open every year,
Right.
which is coming up here in just a couple weeks.
Yep.
Then the Royal and Ancient over in Europe, they organize and operate the British Open every year. And then, of course, Augusta National they are their own entity, and they run the Masters in the spring. But the PGA of America's real mission is to grow interest and participation in the game of golf, and we do that through our members. And we have 27,000 men and women golf professionals all over the United States. The association is administered through 41 different section offices all over the country. And our men and women members, they are the stewards of the game of golf at the grassroots level. So your head professional at all your public and private golf facilities all over the country. They are, most of them, if not all of them, have gone through a very specific set of training and educational requirements that says that they have employable skills and are experts in the game and business of golf, and they are now PGA members.
Mm-hmm.
And so the administration of that membership, that's really what's at the heart and soul of the PGA of America. That's why the association was founded nearly 100 years ago, back in 1916. But it also just so happens that we own and operate 3 of the largest golf events in the world. On the senior side, we own and operate the Senior PGA Championship. Then, of course, we own and operate the PGA Championship every year. And then we own and operate the Ryder Cup matches when they're in the United States. So my focus is on the PGA Championship.
Right.
And that's what I've been in this community for 2 years working on. And when this one's over, I will then again move to another community to start work on a future PGA Championship.
By the way, next year Valhalla, right?
That's right. We go Valhalla in 2014 in Louisville, Kentucky, and then Whistling Straits in 15. Then Baltusrol in Springfield, New Jersey in 16. Quail Hollow in 2017 in Charlotte, and then 2018 will be at Bellerive in St. Louis, who, as a matter of fact, Bellerive is hosting the Senior PGA Championship this year, and that starts tomorrow. So that's as far as we've gotten on the future host sites for the PGA Championship is out through 2018.
I got to get to a few more questions. Ryan Cannon, the director of the 95th PGA Championship, and I love CBS's sports intro on this event, Glory's Last Shot. There's got to be something special about being the last, because it is the last shot for a major championship, even though there have been some people that wanted the Players' Championship to be considered a major. It's an outstanding event, but unfortunately it's not got the status in the minds of golfers, even though it's a great event. The Final Four, and of course you have the Final Four. You know, one thing that startled me when I was doing research for this interview, Ryan, 3,800 volunteers from 37 states and 7 countries. It's pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah, you know, we have the volunteer group for the championship is unbelievable. We absolutely could could do, certainly in sports and just about anything else, where you're going to get participation from 38 different states.
It's amazing.
In that many different countries. I think we actually have some soldiers who are based in Afghanistan that are able to come back and be able to volunteer for the championship, which it just blows your mind when you really think about the global nature of the game of golf, and really the popularity of the sport around the world continues to grow as the game becomes more international. And in our sport, in the game of golf, there are 4 major championships, and those are the events that the players want to win the most, because they know that if they do so, their names don't go in the record books. Their names go in the history books for this game. And that is why they're the major championships. Those are the events that the players, they want to win the most. And that's this being one of the major championships. I think it's an event that people know is special, and when you're here, you can feel it. It's hard to really articulate what that energy in the air is, but it's there. And in all your big sporting events, the Super Bowl, the World Series, the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, when you're in the audience and when you're there at those events, you can feel that electricity. You know that something big and significant is going to happen, and that's why I think folks from around the world want to be here.
Ryan, let's talk golf course changes for the PGA. On the PGA Championship Facebook page, I noticed a lot of changes. Major changes, Ryan, minor tweaks. Oak Hill stands on its own. Obviously, in any major championship, people come in and make changes. Give us a quick observation of what kinds of changes we're looking at.
Sure. Well, certainly from a golf course standpoint and then from an operational standpoint for the championship, the goal is continuous improvement. We never just go back to the 2000, for example, using Oak Hill. We wouldn't go back to the 2003 game plan and just dust it off and do the same thing again. That's right. Our championship and its operations, they're constantly evolving over time. And certainly the game of golf and how it's played at the professional level, that continues to evolve as well. So, 10 years ago in some ways wasn't that long ago, but in a lot of others that was forever ago. So we have made quite a number of changes on the operational side. In partnership with Oak Hill, we've invested in the creation of a new spectator drop-off area, a whole new main entrance kind of flow to the championship, which we think is a huge improvement. There are certainly other aspects of the championship from an operational standpoint that have evolved to make it more fan-friendly. One being, a huge one being that you can now bring your cell phones onto the property. We understood that it was a big ask, and certainly in today's day and age, to ask folks to basically disconnect from their world for an entire day to be here to watch the PGA Championship. And so we changed that policy in 2011, so folks can now come out, stay connected with their office or family while they're enjoying the best players in the world. On the golf course side, there have been, I think, some minor changes to the East Course since 2003. They did kind of recontour 3 greens on the East Course, the 5th hole, the 6th hole, and the 15th, to create some additional hole locations for the championship and more options there. But otherwise, the golf course has stood the test of time. Right. And I wouldn't characterize any of the other changes as being major. It's more, using your words, more just tweaking things here and there. Day to day, the East Course is a tremendous challenge for the members here at Oak Hill, and I personally, that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is watching the best players in the world. Especially, there's an entire generation, all those guys in their early 20s right now, the Rory McIlroys and Keegan Bradleys and the Jason Days and the Bubba Watson and all of those great young players. They have never played a competitive round at Oak Hill.
Wow.
And I cannot wait to watch how that group navigates and strategizes their way around the East Course. It's going to be just fascinating to watch, to see the differences and how it's changed in 10 years, but then, going back to all the great, huge events, the U.S. Opens and the Ryder Cup and everything else that this golf course has hosted. Watching the young guys come out and make their way around, that's going to be really compelling to watch.
Well, going back on the volunteers, I should point out a good friend of myself and Jimmy, who owns FingerLakes1.com, Ryan, a guy named Brad Jones, who I'm going to be playing golf with in about 20 minutes. He's a volunteer for you, and he'll be driving people back and forth to the airport and to the local hotels.
Oh, fantastic.
So,
the transportation committee, that's a huge one.
He's a member of that committee.
Again, we can't do it without our volunteers, so tell him when you see him, thank you on my behalf. We appreciate him deciding to get involved and hope he has a good time with it.
Well, you mentioned about the length of the golf courses, and Jim and myself, I'm not in Jim's caliber, the owner of this place. I'm played to an 18. I could shoot 90 or 120. And by the way, I've had the chance to play the East Course several times years ago when I worked for a major company in the area. And I was bleeding coming down 17 and 18, no question about it, but it was quite an experience. I always made sure I had a couple dozen golf balls in my bag. But as far as length, Ryan, you can move the tees back 120 yards. It won't make any difference. Over the weekend, Keegan Bradley, 20-mile-an-hour downwind, 525 par 4, driver, sand wedge.
Sure, yeah. It's,
I mean,
the difference between even a scratch golfer and a very good amateur,
right,
and the best players in the world is unbelievable. The gap there in the talent level is unbelievable. These guys, the best players in the world now,
just kill it.
It really is hard to comprehend how good they are, and it's more subtle than in other sports. But if I were to make an analogy to football, the difference in talent level is middle school graders playing football in the NFL. That's how far the gap is, even between a very good amateur and the best players in the world. These guys can just can do things with the golf ball. They're unbelievable athletes. They're conditioned mentally. They're just in a different zone than the rest of us, and they combine that with their just inherent talent and the focus and the intensity of a major championship. They can do things with a golf ball that will absolutely blow your mind. It never gets old. I've been engaged in this for my entire life, but certainly had a front row seat to it for the last nearly 13 years, and it never gets old for me to just watch them hit balls on the range.
It's amazing.
It just sounds different. It looks different. It is. These guys are playing a different game than the rest of us, and it never gets old to watch.
In my media involvement in the local Finger Lakes region, I've been doing this for about 40 years. I had a chance to go down and get a credential for the Augusta National in 1979, 1980 when Fuzzy Zeller, first timer ever winning that tournament. And I spent hours and hours on the practice range just watching them hit balls. It was just amazing. And what are we talking? 30 years ago, and it just amazed me then. So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, the rhythm and the consistency, and not only do they have the power and ability to maneuver the golf ball and actually hit it where they're looking, which I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. But then you start looking at the touch around the greens and and then the ability to execute under just unbelievable pressure. I mean, I know I get nervous if I have two people watching me, let alone if I had, millions of people watching me from around the world with literally hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars on the line and history and everything else. And it's really incredible. The best players in the world are amazing athletes, and they're very, very good at what they do. And that's why you're going to want to be here. You want to see what this is all about here at Oak Hill in August.
Okay, a couple of final quick questions. The controversy, USGA, R&A on the long putter, anchored putter. PGA's announced they're not going with it. They voted against it. They want to remain as is. What's your gut feeling? How's this all going to turn out? Rumor has it, only rumor, that the USGA and R&A is going to come out and say they're illegal. How's that all going to get compromised?
Well, my focus, I've got enough to do with thinking about just the PGA Championship.
Yeah, I know.
And looking to make this thing successful and organizing everything for a tremendous week. here in August,
Yeah.
and those decisions, as it relates to our relationship with the USGA and the rules of golf and the PGA decisions, those are made at a pay grade much higher than mine. So I'd have to defer you off to those folks for
okay.
some more information there. But what I do know is that we've got inside of 90 days till the 95th PGA Championship.
There you go.
And could not wait as we get one day closer with each passing day. We cannot wait to open the doors here and reintroduce the world to Oak Hill Country Club in the East Course.
All right, I got to ask you one question before we say goodbye. You and your hierarchy of the PGA, Ryan, be honest with me. Are you not dreaming when you put your head on the pillow every night? The final pairing on Sunday of the PGA, the 95th PGA Championship, Sergio Garcia, Tiger Woods. Come on.
That'd be a good one.
Oh, would it ever be?
Absolutely. You know, Tiger's won the PGA Championship 4 times. He now only trails Jack Nicklaus and Walter Hagen. Are the only other 2 men in history that have won it more times than he. So watching him chase that record and certainly chase Jack's overall 18 major championship record would be incredible. And then and certainly Sergio, one of the most talented players of our generation, and he seems to be getting his game back together here in recent years. I know he's won a couple times in Europe recently. Certainly was a factor at the Players Championship. So that's what's so great about golf is you never know what kind of storylines are going to develop over the week, and when they, especially at a major championship, to have 2 just icons and talented players like that of the game competing at the highest level at a venue like Oak Hill, what's not to love? And I can't wait. I cannot wait to just see what happens and how it plays out that week.
Well, hopefully myself will get a chance to meet you personally. I hope to get up there the week of the championship and meet you personally and some of your team, and look forward to covering that event for our Finger Lakes region. Ryan, it's surely been a great pleasure to have you spend 20, 30 minutes with us this morning. We all appreciate it here in the Finger Lakes region. If ever get bored, come on into the Finger Lakes region. I'd love to show you around. You
got it. Thank you very much. And just for your listeners one more time, you go to PGAchampionship.com for more information about the 2013 PGA Championship here at Oak Hill. But thank you very much for your interest in what we got going on. I look forward to seeing you here in August.
All right, Ryan. Thanks a lot. You have a good day.
You too.
Ryan Cannon, ladies and gentlemen, the director of the 95th PGA Championship to be held in nearby Oak Hill Country Club. Folks, if you want to get a ticket, they said there's a few left. On Thursday, you better hurry. We'll come back with a couple of closing comments here on Weber on Sports. Well, folks, I hope you back here on the Weber on Sports Show. I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as myself and Jimmy did. It's nice to get people that have a national presence. It's going to have a major event. And again, if you're a golf nut like I am, I'm certainly going to try to get up there at least a day or two to check out the event. Jimmy, this gentleman, Ryan, certainly has his act together, and it's going to be a spectacular event. No doubt about it.
Yeah, and it's I don't think people understand, what goes into putting on a major event like this at a rotating basis. In other words, he mentioned the folks at Augusta, they do the Masters.
Yep.
Well, that stays in Augusta,
right?
Every year.
Right.
So nobody has to move. They probably have the same volunteers year to year. The PGA Championship every year goes to a whole different community, and there's been a buzz at Rochester and here in the Finger Lakes about this event for a few years now. And, it's coming to fruition. There's nothing like it. It's a real treat for us here in upstate New York to have access to a world-class event.
Right.
We have the Syracuse in the Dome or the
Sure.
Buffalo Bills. But really, other than the U.S. Open at Oak Hill, I think it was in 87 or 86, and then the PGA Championship last time was here, it's on a whole nother level. It's like having, the Super Bowl, come to the Finger Lakes region.
I agree. Well, Jimmy, a couple of things. First off, I want to wish my friend and our good sponsor, Dick Marshall, he's having some surgery tomorrow. It's strong. We wish Dick the best. I called him the other day. We hope the surgery goes without any complications. So, Dick, we're thinking about you, buddy. Just close your eyes, and the doctors will take care of the rest. And by the way, speaking of sending out kudos to people, speaking of Marshall's, longtime mechanic, I forgot to do this last week, Tommy Thompson, who's been doing mechanical work on cars and trucks, etc., for 40 years, is retiring. So, Tommy, if you're checking out the dog this morning, my best goes out to you. And from Jimmy, we wish you a happy retirement. Yeah. Now, before we wrap up the show, and before I get down and try to take some of Brad Jones and John King's money, the show that we've been calling, I have started calling back in 1970 when I joined WSFW Radio when it was founded here down the street under the ownership of the Sewin and the Bunis families. The show was called Weber on Sports for a reason, because we determined that everything I did was basically sports, with a few exceptions. And over the years, the show's name has always continued to be Weber on Sports, and I appreciate you, the viewer, and you maybe the radio listener back in the days when I did just radio. And I'm glad to do this format working with Jim. But times have changed, as Ryan Cannon mentioned about the golf community and the golf course setups. We need to think in the big picture, look at the big picture. What I want to do, and Jim agrees, is the fact that we want to engage more people to come in and talk to me and on fingerlakes1.com. Yes, I'll still do sports comments, and there'll be weeks where we won't have a guest, because I might take a week off, one a month, and just come on and do 20, 30 minutes of nothing but sports. My point is, we're making a name change to the show. It's going to be called Weber This Week. The reason we're doing that is whatever I feel and Jim feels working together, we want to bring in politicians, we want to bring in the business community, we want to bring in charities, we want to bring in major benefits. We have two people coming in a few weeks to talk about the Trinity Episcopal Church, that severe roof damage. They have a fundraiser. We want to talk about getting some money for that cause. Bottom line is, I think it's time for a change. I'm still going to be here, God willing. However, we think, Jim, that this is the time to make the change.
Yeah, and, this show is on Monday morning, so it's kind of the first thing that we do here at Finger Lakes One to kick off our week. And so this will give us more flexibility to focus on other big events that are happening in the upcoming week that might not be sports related.
Yep.
And, we'll still highlight local athletes and have them in there. And
Sure.
Certainly as sports fans, we'll talk about the big happenings in sports over the weekend, but it also gives you the opportunity to touch on other topics that are important to the community. And, that's what we're doing here at Finger Lakes One, is trying to bring interesting content, local content to our users. So why limit it to sports?
And by the way, there'll be a week or so every month that I'll just take off and block off and just do nothing but sports, because I still hearken to do that. I mean, we'll take weeks where I'll just come in, just me and the camera, along with Jim, and we'll talk straight sports. There's a lot of topics to talk about in the world of sports. But this gives us an opportunity to expand the platforms for many people, and many organizations may want to come in and sit on the couch and be a part of this show.
Absolutely.
So starting in 3 weeks, it'll be called, as I gag to death, Weber This Week's the new name of the show. By the way, our calendar, quick before we wrap up, I won't be here next week, neither will Jim. We're closed Memorial Day. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy your drive carefully. Be safe on a boat out in the water. Just take care of yourself. So I'll be off, and Jim will be off since we're closed here next week. The following week, June 3rd, I won't be here. I have a medical procedure to deal with. Hopefully nothing serious. And I'll return on June the 10th. Our guest on June the 10th will be Brad Jones. He'll be in talking Republican politics. He'll also talk about the Indian issues. He'll be here on the 10th of June, the full half hour. On June 17th, my longtime buddy, Dr. Frank Nietzsche, the president of the New York Chiropractic College, will be my guest sitting on the couch. I think they don't get a whole lot of respect, the NYCC folks down there. They do a wonderful job to pump money in the economy. We'll talk to Dr. Frank about the college and a whole lot more. So he'll be my special guest on June 17th. Then June 24th, we have Ted Flock, who I graduated with from Miners, along with Doug Avery, to talk about the Trinity Episcopal Church fundraiser to try to take care of that roof situation. So then, if you have interest in coming on the show, as you can tell, we're booked out now through the 24th of June. Let me know. Let Jim know. We'll book you. It's that easy. Okay? Again, thanks to Ryan Cannon for taking time out. And again, folks, if you want to check out the PGA Championship, there are some tickets left for Thursday's opening round.
PGAchampionship.com.
That's right. Take care, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us. That's a look at sports my way.